what we do here is go back.
Hello there, hello there, hello there everyone. How the devil are we all? I'm back on Twitch and YouTube. Good God. What's happening to me? Anyway, joining me, a friend of the show, Sophia Christina Botha. How are you?
I'm fine, I'm fine, Kev. I'm
Good,
fine.
good.
And can I just remind all who are watching, Prince Philip is still dead.
And that's still funny.
Yeah. And also, well done to the BBC for helping people forget that Prince Andrew is a nonce.
Well, I haven't forgotten, and clearly neither has the Queen, because that's definitely a correct quote that I've got there on the screen. That was from the Queen. She said that her son is a proper nonce, and that is true. So
Yeah, but the BBC, they've been interviewing Andrew about tributes to Daddy, and it's like, well, that's not what you should be asking him about.
Get some help.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I in a way, I feel bad when anyone's like parent dies, albeit that your dad was 99. And also, why aren't you in jail? You disgusting pederast.
Yeah. Yes.
Just a thought. Oh, we've got an early Rory sighting. Hello.
Ooh.
Oh.
I love cats.
Rory Cats doesn't. There we go. Boom shakalaka. Look at that. Oh, toe beans.
Hello, Rory.
He's offering toe beans.
Yeah.
Look, he's got the eyes of an alligator.
Yeah.
Oh. Go on then. Anyway, so yes, how are you?
I'm fine. I've got a bit of a problem with my legs, so I'm doped up to my eyeballs on painkillers, but I'm cool.
Oh well, awesome. Yes. Well, yes. So, for anyone who doesn't know who you are, and Sophia's channel is linked below. Please go and subscribe forthwith.
Yes, please do help me get over 200 subscribers, please.
Yeah, we can
please.
do that. We can get her over 200 today. Come on, support a trans creator. Go and sub. It costs you fuck all, people. Anyway, yeah, tell us about you. What do you do?
Well, I'm Sophia Botha. I am a Jewish trans gobshite from South Africa who also happens to be physically disabled.
So you've got it all going on.
Yes.
Yeah, but as we know, it's the white men that are truly the oppressed minority. So.
And believe me, I know my family. Just to explain to people some of my disability background. My family are conservative South Africans. Okay, South African conservatives, right? Which is more akin to American conservatives than British. Okay.
Yeah.
And though we'll get to the fact that the Conservative Party here are going down the Trump route when it comes to hating on LGBTQ people, but we'll get to that. But anyways, my family basically rejected me for being disabled.
Not for being trans?
No, because I came out a lot later.
Oh, okay. Well, fuck them then.
Yeah, Yeah,
That's what I say.
It's still painful.
Oh no, I imagine it must be absolutely.
Yeah, they thought I was better off in an institution, essentially.
Not cool. Yeah, not cool. Okay,
yeah.
go on.
And if you think that sort of attitude has gone out with flares, no, it's still prevalent. It's a little bit more subtle now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people still think that disabled people belong in institutions.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little more subtle, unlike the racism in America, anyway. And as Joe points out in the chat, justice for Dante Wright. And my love to all of the people in Minnesota going through all of that shit right now.
Yeah.
Stay safe. Be awesome.
If the Minneapolis police are offended by being called racist, well, stop shooting black people.
Well, exactly, and I'd like it. Would it be? It would be rude to do the joke, so I'll just point. So I won't do the actual joke, the more female drone pilots bit. But it just goes to show you that sometimes representation isn't always a great thing. Anyway, contention aside, So we've got some news from Britain. Not a country I tend to focus on because I find it deeply painful to. But we're going to be taking a look at some stuff from Britain today. Fucked up shit. So, yes, you wanted to talk about, naturally I suppose, as a person with disabilities, the government's latest fuckery in terms of trying to screw over the disabled.
Yeah, essentially the government's proposing a new police bill which would take the right to protest away. And there's been a lot of talk about this, and there has been protests against it, though you wouldn't know this if you watched the BBC, unless of course some policemen the Bristol police force or Somerset and Avon, isn't it, claim that policemen have got injured and then admit, oh no, sorry, we lied about that. That's the only time you ever hear about it on the news, is when the police get hurt, not when the protesters get hurt, of course. But one thing that people have completely overlooked is the impact this would have on disabled people protesting against the government killing them. Yeah,
and it is, be under no illusions, it is essentially a kind of genocide against... Well, are they a genetic group? I'm not sure, but whatever the equivalent of that would be, if for any pedants. Yes, so anti-law, protest law are an attempt to silence us, and we must resist them, say assembled activists. And this one's got a play button, so we'll listen to the article,
yeah,
and stop as we go.
Proposed new anti-protest laws pose a threat to free speech and are an attempt to silence and control protesters, disabled activists have warned. Disabled people who have taken part in protests organized by Disabled People Against Cuts, DPAC, and the Extinction Rebellion climate change movement spoke out this week after the government published its new police, crime, sentencing, and courts bill. The 307-page bill, which began its progress through Parliament this week, with MPs voting in favour of the draft legislation at its second reading, includes measures that have been branded an attack on the right to protest.
And there's absolutely no doubt that that's true. They are an attack on the right to protest,
Yes.
Completely and utterly. They've been brought in essentially to get rid of Extinction Rebellion, haven't they?
Yeah, and the fact that MPs like David Amis don't like people protesting outside his office.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Well, yeah, he literally moaned that people were in Parliament Square and it was making a noise outside his office. Like, motherfucker, if you're not allowed to protest outside Parliament, where are you allowed to protest?
Yeah, I take the V for Vendetta line. The people shouldn't be afraid of governments. Government should be afraid of the people. And I kind of feel that while MPs are debating stuff and voting on stuff in the House of Commons, they should hear the voices of protest from the street.
Yeah, exactly. You want to vote to destroy people's lives, but then get annoyed when they make a noise?
Yeah. I mean, I had one Tory toff say, well, you know, some Tory MPs have found it hard to get through protests to the Houses of Commons. Oh, dearie me! How dare protests hinder, you know, their chauffeur-driven limos being driven up to the doors of the House of Commons, you know, or the House of Lords, you know, and drop them off. They actually have to walk through, amongst the commoners, amongst the peasants.
Yeah. Well, yeah, not just that, but I mean, yesterday they literally did nothing. They spent 7.5 hours talking about the death of Prince Philip, which, by the way, I can get some lols in chat for him still being dead. They spent 7.5 hours. Yeah, that was really essential that you had to get there for that, didn't you? For that fucking weird flag-shagging, virtue-signalling dickathon, you know?
Yeah, I hope you shagged your flag today, Kevin, and had a good weep about Prince Philip, because otherwise you're unpatriotic.
Yeah, no, I've been talking down the country by not inserting my glands into any pieces of fabric. So clearly I deserve to lose my passport and all of my rights. I think that's how it goes. I think I'm now going to be hunted for sport.
But yeah, well, I mean, this was Prince Philip was a racist tosser who thought it was okay to shoot tigers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was a racist prick. Not just that, but also in terms of like Parliament, I don't care. Why are you wasting a whole day of? Think of the number of amazing pieces of legislation that should have been passed that get what's called timed out, which is sort of like the filibuster version in Britain. It forms the same sort of function, if you imagine it that way, Americans. Where basically, if it's not passed by a certain time in its legislative process, so it's usually like at midnight on such and such a day, the bill dies. If they'd had that 7.5 hours, that entire day, so that's 7.5 hours in the House of Commons and the House of Lords, and no committee time whatsoever was done on that day, they could have passed actually worthwhile legislation that could have improved people's lives. But instead, they sat there and sucked a racist old man's dick.
Yeah,
racist dead old man's dick.
I tell you what was really fucking cringeworthy. It was John Sentinel, who I think he's the Archbishop of York.
Former. Yeah, I thought he still was, but he apparently stepped down in 2020.
Yeah, who is a black man, who's originally from Africa, you know, and he was trying to he was trying to say nice things about Prince Philip. You just know that Prince Philip probably told him in private, why don't you just bugger off back to bongo land? I mean, that's the kind of shit Prince Philip said.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's no way that he doesn't believe shit like that. Whether he ever said it to John Setemu, I don't know. But that's the thing. John Setemu must know that that's the kind of racist bullshit he's engaged in. But yeah, he still came out and sang his praises, which is shocking.
Yeah, and also, I read today that the BBC received 100,000 complaints about its wall-to-wall sycophantic coverage of Prince Philip.
Good.
All the fucking tributes.
All of the, but not just that. They had wall-to-wall coverage, but for those who don't know from outside the UK, they have two main, what was called terrestrial, but terrestrial doesn't exist anymore. BBC One and BBC Two, right? And they're the two biggest channels and all the rest of it. And they had both of those TV channels taken over with the exact same coverage.
Yeah, I mean, it was like our broadcaster fucking turned into the broadcaster in North Korea, you know.
Well, I literally did that bit. Yeah, I think I've still got the bookmarks of it. If we scroll down, I went through it on the stream about the all these fucking posters of him that replaced all these adverts. Look, just from across the country. Everywhere you looked, this fucking old dead bastard's face was fucking everywhere. Like when Kim Jong-un died. Kim Jong-il, sorry, his father, yeah. Look, it's just fucking everywhere, and then there's a cute cat. But mainly the faces.
Here's an amazing fact. Do you know that Kim Jong-il was the greatest golfer of all time?
Yes. He taught Tiger Woods how to play, yeah.
He scored more holes in one than any other professional golf player.
What? Oh, this is one of those things. Yeah, okay, I see where you go with. I was about to say he wasn't actually a golfer. Yeah, it's one of those North Korea lying through their teeth thing. Okay.
Yeah, it was when they opened up a golf course in North Korea, and they basically they put out that Kim Jong Il was he'd scored I forgot how many holes in one. Well,
he should have gone pro. He'd have earned a fortune on the pro circuit.
The trouble is, every time anyone mentions Kim Jong Il, I just think of Team America. I'm sorry, I just do. You're so lonely. I'm so lonely.
True. Quite a racist film looking back, but yeah, I see where you're going with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Well, it's a bit like Spinal Tap and Stonehenge. Anytime anyone mentions Stonehenge to me, I just think of Spinal Tap.
Yeah. Was it where the demons dwell and the banshees live and they do it well? Stonehenge.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So,
sorry.
From funny Stonehenge to not funny bits of Britain. Continuing with the thing.
Among the many parts of the bill to have already caused alarm is Section 59, which would impose a prison sentence of up to 10 years on protesters whose actions put a person at risk of serious annoyance or serious inconvenience.
Can you stop there? Right. For people in America, this is exactly the same as that law Trump brought in. If you vandalized public monuments in America, I think the minimum sentence there was 10 years.
Yeah, but this is just for what I mean. Serious serious annoyance or serious inconvenience? Now, I put it to you: if that's actually part of the law, then every member of the current government needs to be in jail because they've caused me serious annoyance for a long time.
Also, this could affect, believe it or not, pride parades.
Well, of course, yeah.
Basically, if people object, then it can't go ahead, essentially.
Yeah.
Absolutely
ridiculous, yeah.
So you can just imagine that the Christian fundamentalists and the TERFs are all going to get together and, try and use this against, say, Pride in London or Manchester Pride or Brighton Pride.
Oh, yeah, they'll take it across the board. Of course they will.
Yeah. So
and that's it's so farcically broad in its wording, and it's not like serious annoyance isn't really, they don't nail down what that means, so it could just be some busybody. It's basically a Karen's charter.
Yeah.
Disabled activists fear that many of the anti-austerity and climate change demonstrations and direct action they have taken part in over the last decade would now see them being convicted and even imprisoned. Bob Williams-Findlay, who took part in the major Extinction Rebellion protests in London in October 2019 as part of the XR Disabled Rebels group, and in many DPAC actions, said the bill was without doubt one of the most authoritarian pieces of legislation to go before Parliament.
True.
He said, "It is a threat to democratic process, free speech and our right to defend ourselves and our planet."
Yeah.
Disabled and non-disabled people alike must unite in opposition to this attempt to silence and control.
Can I just point out to people, right? You see, the trouble with a lot of conservatives, they think democracy is just casting a vote in a ballot box. No. Many rights that we have now have been won by direct action.
True.
By street protests. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is and I will, I'm going to repeat this, and I'll probably repeat it again. Disabled people are protesting for their fucking lives. Okay? It's as stark as that.
Very true.
He said XR Disabled Rebels had experienced a foretaste of this iron fist policing in 2019, while DPAC has also experienced heavy-handed tactics. He said, "Of course these measures are seeking to deter us, frighten us and criminalize us, but we will not cower, allow bullies to disable or curtail human rights. We will not go quietly into the night, we will roar like lions, take to the streets again when possible to resist and defy.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
Yeah, yeah.
Dennis Queen, who has taken part in numerous direct actions as a DPAC activist, and previously the Disabled People's Direct Action Network, said the measures appear to be designed to shut down anything at all that might inconvenience anyone. All protests annoy somebody, at the very least, they annoy the powerful targets. Annoyance to the public was a factor before and had to be proved to convict. But not risk of annoyance. I can see it is true, having been charged under the common law for public nuisance, that this was a tight law, and it was hard to convict people for unnecessary, subjective things, like peaceful protest. Changing this law puts all public resistance at risk, even just vigils. As a non-violent civil disobedience protester,
Hang on,
I
one
have
second,
come
one
to expect
second.
police treat.
I have to scroll back to the top to pause. Yeah, go on.
Well, I was going to say, if the right don't think this is going to affect them, can I just remind them, when Labour started, when Labour came to government and they said, we're going to ban fox hunting. Well, what did the right do? Oh, yeah, the Countryside Alliance, marched through London, didn't they?
They did.
And that, so, if there's laws that the right don't like, they're not going to be able to protest against them.
Yeah, well, the right have been going on these anti-lockdown things and stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly as well, for the death of Prince Philip, again, that's still funny, can I get some lols in chat? There were lots of these gatherings of flag-shagging arseholes in front of, like, Buckingham Palace and stuff. Interestingly, the police didn't wade into them in the same way they did for the Sarah Everard protests. Do you remember the woman who was killed by a police officer? Yeah, they violently disrupted all of that. That didn't do that for the loyalists, for the royalists, at all.
Yeah, I was also going to just remind people. Last Thursday was 8 years since Margaret Thatcher died. So can we get some lols on the fact that Margaret Thatcher is still dead?
Yeah, I got a thing. I can't be bothered to get it up now, but yeah, I did. There were memes. I did memes on the day itself. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, Thatcherism hasn't died with her.
No, sadly not. Sadly not.
Like that at Clapham Common last weekend. But women holding peaceful vigils do not expect this, nor should vigils like this be criminalised. Under this law change, we would see more of this, for less and less. Queen was charged, and then cleared for her part in a DPAC anti-austerity protest in Manchester.
That the person's called Dennis Queen. It's not the Queen. Just in case anyone was wondering there. And it wasn't the rock band Queen.
Who I fucking hate.
Different thing entirely.
I will never, even to this day, Brian May still defends Queen playing in Sun City during apartheid.
Yeah.
2017, during the Conservative Party conference. She and others had held up city centre tram services outside the conference, but she was cleared as risk of causing public nuisance partly because she was able to show the court that some of the passengers had left the tram and joined them on the protest. John McArdle, co-founder of the grassroots group Black Triangle, who has also taken part in numerous protests, said, "Can you imagine how easy it would have been to arrest, charge and convict us on all the demos we've done using this new legislation? This is effectively a ban on the right to peaceful protest, in contravention of the European Convention on Human Rights."
Which is possibly why the Tories have been trying to get rid of that for 20 years.
Yeah.
PDF.
Right.
It's the biggest attack
Yeah, true.
on civil liberties since the end of World War II. Britain can no longer be considered to be a free and democratic society if this bill passes in its current form.
Which, by the way, I had a question in chat about whether this will pass. I think some of the more ridiculous elements of this won't pass. And to be honest, I get the impression now, from the way the government are acting, that it was never intended to pass in that form. They wanted to put that more extreme shit in there so that then they give the concessions of taking that extreme shit away. The stuff that remains, which is still pretty fucking extreme, would seem like a victory by comparison.
Yeah, and I would like to remind people that there are elements of this bill which would further persecute the Gypsy, Roma and Traveller community.
Which is not enormously surprising from a government that despises the Roma people.
Yeah, and I actually know, if anyone remembers, who's old enough to remember the Battle of the Beanfields in 1985, I actually know someone who was there. And if you've seen the footage, the police just went fucking berserk in their riot gear, literally just smashing up buses, pouring glass on children and stuff. It was just fucking disgusting. And that was Thatcher's Britain there. She was, if you thought that, and if you think Thatcher's Britain was bad, well, it's going to get worse with Boris,
Indeed.
Sandra Daniels, who has taken part in both DPAC and XR disabled rebels protests, said the measures showed the government was trying to silence minority groups.
True.
She said, the government's actions, and how they have treated disabled people with the austerity cuts, and throughout the pandemic, only pushes us to fight back as we have nothing to lose. She added, I'm not a disabled activist out of choice, but by necessity. Michael Bosley, another member of the XR Disabled Rebels group, said he believed some of the protest clauses could discriminate against disabled people. He said that those with mobility impairments might be more likely to be viewed as being annoying, a nuisance, and would have greater difficulties with inflexible start and stop times. The policing of the Sarah Everard Vigil showed the police have no awareness or sensitivity when policing demonstrations, something we've previously experienced when the Met Police impounded accessible toilets and ramps during the XR demos in 2019. So as disabled people, we are again at risk of having our rights to speak, to assemble and protest still further restricted. Another XR Disabled Rebels member said the bill would increase the targeting of neurodivergent people. They said, non-neurotypical behavior at peaceful protests will be criminalized. Lack of medical facilities and support in UK custody and prisons will be enough to terrify disabled activists and stop them protesting at all, especially while COVID is still...
255 in the chat, trans rights are human rights, that's true, that's awesome, but if you could not do the thing where you write down acrostically like that, because that fucks up the chat for everyone.
I was just going to say, what they mean by not neurotypical is people who are autistic, and I also happen to be on the autistic spectrum. And there is a great deal of discrimination against people who are autistic. People just... let us just say, I had I'm not going to mention the name, but a very well-known trans entertainer reduced me to tears. Right, the day I found, a couple of days after I found out I had Asperger's, because I was worrying about how to go forward, with this, because basically they diagnosed me with Asperger's, and that was it. They weren't going to offer me any help, and just people being really unempathetic to some of the issues that people with autistic spectrum disorders have, basically, saying, oh, you should get out and meet people, not realizing that, people, some people with autistic spectrum disorders find it very hard to mingle with people. Okay. Yeah. They just think we're self-centered prima donnas. No, we're not. Okay.
Go away. Sorry, I was checking a thing. Yeah, no, absolutely. The government, especially, they've taken money away from, for instance, the what's sometimes referred to as special needs education, which obviously largely includes people who are autistic, but obviously people who have other issues as well. This government have been particularly brutal and efficient in its callousness towards the disabled. There's no doubt about that. And this was following on from the Cameron Osborne team, who were, I don't know, probably cut more money, but I don't know. I don't know which one's worse. It's like choosing between a ton of horse shit or a ton of cow shit. It's all shit. Anyway, yes, continuing.
Round. Mary Ellen, who has taken part in numerous protests, including many DPAC actions, the 2019 Extinction Rebellion protests in London, and Tuck and NHS protests, said she was extremely concerned by the government's plans. She said, "If our right to protest is taken away from us, then how do we fight a government that is already killing us off through the benefits system and the pandemic? The one thing we have is to be able to protest, and to be able to draw people's attention to it by closing streets, by closing bridges, and by standing outside Parliament." She added, "If the right to protest is taken away, it will result in even more human rights violations and deaths being hidden from the public and the silencing of dissent, and our rights to justice, transparency and accountability." A spokesperson for DPAC Cambridgeshire and Essex added, "Disabled activists have been proudly causing serious annoyance to governments that systematically deny us the right to livable lives for decades, and we will continue to do so." Disabled protesters are already targets of state surveillance, with some of us having had benefits cut or removed for protesting poverty and discrimination under Tory austerity, as well as other injustices such as the climate crisis. Increasing police powers to repress dissent is a transparently authoritarian attempt to escape accountability for state violence of all kinds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And yes, I saw a report warning disabled people that, the DWP can monitor your bank account at any time. Yeah. Which I would argue is against the right to privacy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's absolutely true, and it obviously tramples all over their basic rights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Tories. This is one of the protests the disabled people against cuts did. Now, this is actually topical because though this is back in 2015, they actually did this on the day the government announced an increase to the civil list. For those outside the UK, or maybe some people in the UK who don't know what the civil list is, it's basically the royals' dole check.
Yeah.
You see, the royals can live on the public dime, live in palaces, bounce around in golden horse-drawn carriages, eat fancy meals, go to swish parties host swish parties on the public dime. But hey, disabled people having a decent life, with government support. Nah, they're spongers. They should be sent down mill. They should be sent down pit.
Yeah. Fucked up stuff. Should we watch the video first?
Yeah, sure.
What are they saying?
I don't know actually.
Yeah, that's fair. I was just trying to work it out. Yeah.
So we should explain to people. This is actually in the lobby of Parliament.
Yeah. Actually, technically, the room also where the only Prime Minister to ever be assassinated was shot dead.
All right.
Spencer Percival.
And I have actually been inside Parliament myself, but not on a protest. I know some people are going to say, "Oh, you and Kevin are really hypocritical because you condemn the Capitol riots. That was a bunch of people invading, Congress." Yet the difference is these are people, campaigning to save their fucking lives, right?
Yeah.
And the Capitol riots were a bunch of spoilt brats, having a tizzy because their man didn't win the election.
Also, I think there's a very significant difference between someone going in with intent to do harm, as indeed happened on the January the 6th at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., and disabled people doing essentially peaceful disruption.
Yeah.
They're not there to kill anybody or take hostages.
No.
There are no zip-tie Nazis around.
Yeah. Have
So,
you actually got that guy yet?
Yes, I believe they have, yeah.
All right. I mean, I have to applaud the fact that a group of disabled people managed to get access to Parliament. Because if you've ever been to Parliament, anyone will know the amount of security you have to go through.
Yeah, no, it's pretty intense. Understandably, I suppose, but yeah. Yeah, apparently some people are saying it was saved my life.
Well, yeah, it should be. You'd also laugh. At one time, I had a problem at security at Parliament because of my e-cigarette.
Oh, yeah.
So,
They're generally pretty good in terms of security at Parliament, for understandable reason. Yes, so protesters have attempted to enter. This was from the
2015.
2015, yeah. Protesters have attempted to enter the House of Commons chamber during Prime Minister's questions. The group campaigned against the end of the Independent Living Fund, also Save ILF, right, were prevented from getting in by police. BBC assistant editor Norman Smith, who's a bit of a twat, said about 20 protesters, many of whom were in wheelchairs, had their way towards and attempted to storm the Commons chamber. The doors were quickly closed on the chanting protesters, he said. Prime Minister's questions carried on inside the chamber, and Commons officials told broadcasters not to film the protest, which continued outside in Westminster's central lobby. The protesters were from a group called Disabled People Against Cuts. One protester told BBC News the Independent Living Fund, which supports more than 18,000 people and is worth £320 million, was vital to the lives of disabled people. The fund is being closed on June the 30th, with funding and responsibility transferred to councils and devolved administrations, which basically means if you live in a Tory area, you're fucked. Its closure has been challenged in the courts, but the rule lawful by the High Court in December. About an hour after Prime Minister's questions ended, Scotland Yard said the protest was over. It said one person and their carer had been ejected from the Palace of Westminster for disorderly behaviour, but no arrests had been made.
I'll tell you something else with the Tories cut, right? Under Labour, right, disabled people could basically go do the Open University for free. Okay? And also there was I think it was a maintenance grant you could get if you wanted to go to an actual university.
Yeah.
Cut that. So it's like, how are disabled people meant to improve their fucking lives if you take away the essential funding, which would fucking help them, you know? And I would say there is a cost benefit, here, because you support a disabled person going to university. If they can get a decent job, then they become, contribute tax revenue to the system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Whereas they're not doing that. If they're stuck at fucking home. Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. And this one is this is Norman Smith, who was mentioned in the previous article.
This was from a year later or a couple of years later, and I actually remember I watched this live. It was on it was on what's now Politics Live. It was then the Daily Politics.
Yeah.
There's been a protest by a number of disability protesters here inside Central Lobby because of their anger. I'm sorry?
You have to stop. You can't film with this going on in the background.
You're not allowed to film this. Why not?
Because it's part of the rules and conditions of you using this area that you're not allowed to film.
As you can see, we're not allowed to film here, so unfortunately I'm going to have to terminate this broadcast.
So much for freedom of the press.
And I do remember that after this protest, John McDonnell went out and spoke to the the protesters.
Back when we
in
had
fact-
like a Labour leadership who gave a shit. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jeremy Corbyn spoke up for disabled people than any other Labour leader I knew.
Yeah. So, well, actually, I suppose we're about to transition to talking about Mr. Starmer, Sir Keith.
Well, there was one more. There should be one more link. I think.
Hang on 1 second. I'll go on to the list that I was given. Where are we?
If I remember I should have put it in.
Facebook is so shit when you're streaming.
I hate it doing this. I don't know why. No, it does this to me all the time.
Yeah, it's really, really annoying. It takes forever. I mean, there are many reasons to hate Pink Starmer recognition. BBC. Is that the one? Oh, the advisory. That one?
No. It should have been under disability. It was basically Francesca Annis. Francesca. She's a famous actress. Yeah, this should be it. Francesca Martinez.
Yes.
Just listen. This is one of the most powerful things I've ever heard say on Question Time.
Yeah. I remember her from Grange Hill many years ago now.
She did a benefit for Jezza.
Oh, okay. Cool.
A few years back.
Oh, good stuff.
She's very funny.
Yeah, well, she's done stand-up comedy as well, hasn't she?
Well, that's what I meant. I went to see a stand-up show.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah.
The biggest reason that I'm not a fan of Boris is because he's backed austerity policies again and again. And I don't know if this is widely reported, but austerity has caused the death of over 130,000 human beings in Britain. That is absolutely outrageous. You know, that's 130,000 mums, dads, daughters, sons, uncles, aunts who've died because the Tories and the Lib Dems decided to make ordinary people pay for a crash caused by bankers who we bailed out. My final point, as a wobbly woman, I really have to highlight the tens of thousands of disabled people and sick people who have died after being found fit for work. Now, we are one of the richest countries in the world. And this is absolutely outrageous. Even the UN has called Tory welfare reform a violation of disabled people's rights. So I want to remind everyone here that anyone can become disabled or sick at any time. And right now, this government is taking away the safety net that we have fought for collectively over decades to help those in need. And I think whatever your politics, you can agree that punishing disabled people and sick people for falling on hard times is absolutely morally wrong, and they have blood on their hands.
Fucking true. Fucking true. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, it's not just one UN report. There were 2 UN reports condemning the Tories' treatment of disabled people. I know some people think this is hyperbolic, but I actually do think that Ian Duncan Smith, the former DWP secretary, and his deputy in charge, Esther McVeigh, should face crimes against humanity.
I think so,
The welfare reform program killed thousands of people just so that bankers could get off, from having crashed the world economy. Yes, here we are, folks, disabled people. who did nothing to crash the fucking world economy, who are defenseless. The Tories picked on them, because their banker chums, crashed the world economy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's.
And when I say
the people least able to defend themselves are paying for the crimes of those who are most able to.
And can I just say, when I say banker, that's not a euphemism for Jew, unlike Alex Jones. Okay.
Yeah, we're not saying global banking elites. We mean literally people who run hedge funds and shit. Most of whom obviously aren't Jewish. Most of, again, as I've always said, it's not the racial minority that's ever hurt me, really. It's always a white motherfucker in a suit.
Yeah. It's like the Tommy Robinsons of the world, right? Who say, his fanboy said to me things like, the Muslims don't like you. It would kill you for being LGBTQ. And it's like, well, let me think about this. There's a local cafe run by a Turkish family who are Muslim, right? They have had never had a problem, using the right pronouns. In fact, I never had to ask them to use the right pronouns, right? And, I actually remember one time I went to use the female toilets and someone complained and they said, it's my right, I am a woman, right? In fact, the people I have a problem with, when I go to sometimes when I've been to that cafe, are white working class people. I hate to say it, but that, that's the people I've had problems with. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, it's the gammons of the world.
Yeah.
And not gammons, as in the guy who's running for London Mayor.
And I will tell you, every time I walk past the Weatherspoons and there's chairs outside, and gammon are having a puff on their cigarettes. Guess who gets abused? Me.
Yeah.
I fucking hate Weatherspoons and I fucking hate Tim Martin.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Yes. So, right, Sister Rose, what I'll do is I'll continue this conversation with Sophia, and then when we're done, I'll whisper you a Zoom chat thing. If that's okay. Well, we've got another
problem?
Oh no, it's fine. No, I've just meant I'm going to have a conversation with another person after me and you are done here.
All right,
if that makes
cool,
sense.
Cool. Yeah.
So because I'm not sure I can add a third person to the Zoom call. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Continuing. So yes, Liz Truss, who is a massive piece of shit, who's the government's equality spokesperson or something. What's her official title?
Women's and Equalities Minister or Secretary.
And doesn't believe that there's systemic racism or anything, which is
she's also
awesome.
I think she's also the Trade Secretary.
Oh, well, that's good then. Maybe they can start trading women. Maybe that's a thing the Tories can do. It's our new resource.
Do you pay for the premium version of Zoom?
I do not. I am cheap as balls.
No, you can't add a third person.
Okay then. Well, when we're done here, if Sister Rose is still around, I'll talk to a fine Irish comrade as well then. Anyway, so yes, we talked previously about how various people from the LGBT advisory panel have resigned in the past, and we've also had recently race relations advisory people resign from the government as well. Because they're basically a bag of dog shit on every manner of equalities issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
now the Tories are kicking LGBTQ people in the teeth again. The disbanding. I mean, someone actually said that in some ways we should welcome this because it shows the Tories' true colours.
Yeah.
Well. Yeah, but the thing is, as we'll get on to, if you think that this is going to suddenly get LGBTQ people to go and support Labour, I would advise them to think about that carefully.
We'll get onto that, sure, yes.
Yes. Here's the thing: the Tory government keeps saying they're going to ban conversion therapy.
Yeah.
They have been saying that they're going to banning. They've said that they've been saying this since at least July 2018, and it's like, why don't you fucking get on with it? You know, because the excuse was, oh well, Brexit and COVID. Well, you know, you've done other stuff in Parliament. I mean, you sat around for 7 fucking hours sucking Prince Philip's dick.
7.5 hours, please.
Right.
That half an hour is important because that was the money shot, clearly. Anyway.
And also last autumn, Liz Truss announced that the government were going to shelve plans for self-ID.
Yeah.
This wasn't exactly a surprise, but what really pissed me off was she said, "Oh, this would be this is best for trans people," and it's like, how the fuck do you know, Liz? Are you trans? You know, no.
Indeed. And to Beach in the chat, yeah, they have tried to fiddle around with ballot access because they learn from basically British conservatism is like 10 years behind American conservatism. That's basically the way to think of it. Yeah, so they're now going to try and get voter ID and stuff through. Yeah, they're pretty scummy.
Despite the fact that there's very little electoral fraud in this country.
Yeah, there isn't in America either, but it doesn't stop them. It doesn't stop them at all. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, so
they've now disbanded the LGBTQ. I wish they would say LGBTQ advisory board. And I just think this is a signal of where the Tories are travelling. I mean, Liz Truss has been dog whistling to TERF as it goes. I remember she sat in front of a parliamentary select committee and said she doesn't think that trans people should get treated until 18. Sound familiar from all the stuff happening in America? You know, in various states like Arkansas. And also that female-only spaces were an issue of concern.
Right, which is basically TERF dog whistling.
Yeah. So I'm not surprised, but as I've said, you know, the other thing is, so before they shelved self-ID, there was a parliamentary inquiry, right? And it was overwhelming. All the evidence, you know, collated was in favour of, you know, of introducing self-ID. You know, it's about a week after they shelved self-ID, the Tories announced another inquiry into how they could help improve trans rights. Hold on, you just had an inquiry, you know, and it told you self-ID, and now you're having another inquiry. Yeah, basically, it seemed to me they're going to keep on having inquiries until, you know, basically the evidence is
well, they want what they want. They want
what they want.
Yeah, they want what they got from the racial equalities bullshit, where they want there to be no problem and nothing has to change, because the current situation suits the Tories down to the ground.
I mean, the other thing, the Tories' favourite way of getting out of shit is having an inquiry. I mean, they had a fucking, you know, rather than actually just put, you know, basically ensuring that building regulations were up to scratch, you know, after Grenfell. Oh, no, you know, and replacing fucking flammable fucking cladding. Oh, no, we need an inquiry.
Indeed.
No, you fucking don't. We knew what needs to happen.
Indeed.
Fucking hell, sorry.
So no, that's absolutely fine. So the government's LGBT panel is closed. So we know that the government is shit, but it appears even the opposition is shit as well. Yeah. So this was incredibly disappointing stuff. Sir Keir, or as I like to call him, Keith, Labour leader Keir Starmer condemned after visiting notorious homophobic church Jesus House. Labour leader Keir Starmer is facing a backlash after he visited a notorious anti-LGBT plus church in London. Starmer visited Jesus House on Friday the 2nd of April and shared details of his trip on Twitter, prompting a wave of fury from LGBT plus Labour Party members. In a video posted on Twitch, Keir Starmer praised Jesus House as a, quote, wonderful example of a church serving their community. It has been great to meet young people and church leaders here at Jesus House to talk about how to address inequalities and injustices that this crisis has so brutally exposed, Starmer said, referring to the coronavirus pandemic. So, no mention there straight away of the homophobia at all. Didn't seem to bother him, really.
Yeah, I should explain. Boris visited this particular church back in March.
Yeah.
So I guess Keir sort of thought he needed to. However, Theresa May visited this place a few years ago. When it came out that this was, these Bible bashers were spouting, homophobia, as many fundamentalist Christians do, she actually apologised. Now, obviously, you're not going to get an apology out of Boris. And the thing is, Boris has a history of homophobia, so,
naturally, he welcomed in with open arms, I imagine.
Yeah. But generally, the LGBTQ community, I would say the majority of have looked to Labour. So this was, basically there was a backlash against this. I mean, Owen Jones tweeted, but basically, what the fuck? If anyone in the leadership had done a cursory fucking Google search, they would have found out that, about this church being homophobic.
Yeah. In 2009, Christian website Ecclesia alleged that Jesus House, which is part of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, had carried out exorcisms on people who are, quote, sexually attracted to members of their own sex. Jesus House denies the allegations, though, to be fair. In 2006, Jesus House pastor Agu Irukwu signed a letter to the Daily Telegraph opposing laws that would protect LGBT people from discrimination, saying such regulations would, quote, force Christians in churches, businesses and charities and informal associations to accept and even promote the idea that homosexuality is equal to heterosexuality.
Can I just say, right, Keir Starmer did apologise, but it took him 3 fucking days. And, in that time, you had Rachel Reeves, who's a member of the Shadow Cabinet, go on Sky News and say, well, just because he visited this church doesn't mean he endorses, their views. And I just thought, you fucking hypocrite. Just to remind you who Rachel Reeves is, she's on the right of the Labour Party. She refused to serve under Jeremy Corbyn. And it was the right of the fucking, it was the likes of her who basically, went about saying that Jeremy Corbyn was an anti-Semite because he sneezed in a 10-mile radius of a synagogue.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Fucking hell. It's so horrific. Right. Alex Beverley, chair of LGBT plus Labour, told Pink News that Starmer, quote, should not have associated himself with a church connected to conversion therapy and said that it was unacceptable. We will be meeting with the leader's office next week to ensure mistakes like this are not repeated.
Right. So, can I just say something about LGBT plus Labour? This isn't my words. This is Owen Jones. Their career is tax. And I've had actually inside experience because I sat on the national executive of LGBT plus Labour, and they really didn't want me there because mainly because I was autistic. They didn't want to have to deal with it. And also, I actually remember on purpose, knowing that I find, getting up and down stairs hard. They had a national executive meeting in a loft. It was actually West Street, the office of West Streeting who was campaigning to be an MP then. Of course, he's now an MP. And I remember my friend Natasha Kennedy, and you can look her up. She's a well-known trans woman, who also was sitting on the Labour LGBT plus national executive at the time. She was furious with them, absolutely furious that they didn't take into account that I was the disability officer as well. That was my role. They did shit like that. They're basically, they're a bunch of Blairites who are more interested in furthering their own. This basically serving on this committee was like a stepping stone, to I don't know, fucking be an MP, I guess, or becoming some sort of I don't know, spin doctor or what the fuck ever. But the point is they didn't care about the cause. They just cared about their own fucking careers.
Yeah.
I care about causes. That's me.
Yeah. Oh, and another person who does as well, Peter Tatchell, a fine individual. LGBT rights campaigner Peter Tatchell, which, by the way, just a quick shout out. If you ever get a chance, this is both to you, Sophia, and to everyone else, read his book, The Battle for Bermondsey. Amazing book. About when he ran
the dirtiest by-election has ever been.
Yeah, he ran for back when Labour was a socialist party in the 80s. He ran for one of the MP seats in a place called Bermondsey in South London, and it was one of the most disgustingly homophobic races ever run, because Peter Tatchell's a gay man. And interestingly, the person he lost to, Simon Hughes, the Liberal Democrat, who was an MP for years and years and years after that, turns out he was gay.
Yeah, and he did apologise because the Liberal Democrats were, the Liberal, I don't know, was he SDP or Liberal? I can't remember. But anyways,
I think he was Liberal, if I recall. Yeah, because I remember the leaflet, the Liberal Party, and they literally had the Simon Hughes, the straight choice.
Yeah.
Was the actual slogan of his campaign.
Yeah, and also Labour put up, the constituency party put up a rival candidate to Peter.
Yeah.
And basically the guy, I forgot the guy's name who was that candidate, basically went around making homophobic smears against Peter.
Indeed. But like I say, if you get a chance, read his book, The Battle for Bermondsey. It's amazing the strength he went through, because he was sent a single bullet through the post. That's pretty. It's pretty fucking intimidating and shit. Anyway, Peter Tatchell.
I've met Peter actually.
Oh, I remember you've got a picture with him, haven't you, on Facebook? I think, if I recall.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, LGBT rights campaigner Peter Tatchell told Pink News that Starmer's visit... Oh yeah, and by the way, look up, he tried to do a citizen's arrest on Robert Mugabe. He literally handcuffed himself to him. Actually, fuck it, we're watching that. It's in my head now. So we're going to watch Peter Tatchell try and arrest Robert Mugabe. Tatchell... Robert Mugabe, there we go. It just goes up to him at the airport. There we go.
President Mugabe, I'm very pleased to meet you. I put you under arrest on charges of torture under the United Nations Convention against... Very pleased to meet you. I put you under arrest on charges of torture...
Hang on, there's actually a thing where he actually manages to get to him, doesn't he? This is a different one.
To beat me.
He actually handcuffed himself to him, didn't he?
Yeah.
Where's that one? There we go.
Third time lucky. Mugabe under arrest.
No. There was actually a thing where he got to him, didn't he? And he handcuffed him. Why isn't that here? Oh, god damn it. Anyway, basically he tried to do a citizen's arrest on Robert Mugabe, which is pretty badass. Anyway, LGBT plus rights campaigner Peter Tatchell told Pink News that Starmer's visit to the church is a slap in the face to the LGBT plus community, especially black LGBTs. Labour seems to be putting religion before human rights, Tatchell said. This apparent bid to appease bigoted churches is outrageous. Keir Starmer needs to make an immediate statement distancing himself and Labour from the homophobia of Jesus House. So, yeah. Fair point.
Yeah.
Stephen Timms, who's a gay member of Parliament.
Well, he's a Christian fundamentalist.
Is he not? Who's the? Oh, I'm thinking of
Where's Streeting?
the Welsh guy. What's his fucking name?
Oh,
Bollocks.
I don't know.
Oh, oh no, Timms is the guy who got Chris Bryant. Fuck me, right?
Yeah, Chris Bryant. I've met Chris as well. He's cool.
Yeah, Timms was the guy who got stabbed, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he got stabbed in the stomach.
But Chris Bryant used to be a vicar, though.
Did I? Well, there you go.
I think, yeah, he was. I asked him. I said, "Well, you're a trendy vicar." He laughed.
And actually, it was one of the most delightfully camp and chummy moments in Parliament ever when what you call it was stepping down. Order.
John Burko.
Who is the most sort of camp straight man I've ever seen. But anyway, he's married. He's a married man to a woman. Anyway, and he was one of the people who officiated at Chris Bryant's wedding, which was like I think the first gay marriage to have, because the Palace of Westminster, because it's a royal palace, is also partly a church, so you can have like a full church ceremony there to get married. And they only do so many every year because it's like, you have to actually get a proper thing. And Chris Bryant had his gay marriage there, and it was like the first gay marriage. And there's the stories and the friendship between the two of them, even though they're from different political parties and stuff. And I just thought, that's really nice. Why can't we all be like that?
And I'd also point out John Burko told Alistair Campbell that I should tell people John Burko is Jewish. This is why it's relevant.
Yes.
He said that nothing,
because his family were originally Berkovich, but they changed when they came to England. They changed their names.
Yeah, but I was going to say he has said. I saw an interview he gave with Alistair Campbell, and he said nothing. He's been in the company of Jeremy Corbyn, many times, and he said everything that Jeremy Corbyn's ever said, and he said he's not an anti-Semite.
Yeah, well, he's not. I mean, that was always a slur. That was always just a slur.
Yeah. So yeah, Stephen Timms being, I guess Stephen Timms is Labour's version of Tim Farron.
Yeah.
Sorry. For those who don't know, Tim Farron is a Liberal Democrat who basically is a Christian fundamentalist who has said who's compared being anti-gay to being anti-slavery back in the day, which I find fucking offensive.
Yeah, that is pretty disgusting. I mean, just because some gay people are in chains, that's a kink. Stop it.
So yeah, Stephen Timms. I think Stephen Timms needs to decide whether he wants to be a Labour MP or a Christian fundamentalist. I don't think he can be both. Sorry, I just don't. Yeah, if he's going about saying he supports Jesus House, and the other thing is, I don't know if I included the story. Starmer, there's a problem with another MP when it comes to transphobia, and that's Rosie Duffield.
Yes.
And there have been calls for her to have the whip removed. Starmer, no. Yeah, she can spout all the transphobic bullshit she wants, and Starmer will not, remove the whip, right? But Jeremy Corbyn tells the fucking truth, and he gets the whip removed.
Yeah, it's almost like he's basically Boris Johnson, but shitter in a way, because at least Boris Johnson's sort of open about his bigotries. Yeah. Whereas and also, Keith does a kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing.
Also, Keith Starling, as I like to now call him, he has had ample fucking opportunities to stick up for trans rights and just refuses to do so. He's sitting on the fence. I know that the strategy is, we've got to think about the red wall. The reason why Labour lost the red wall is actually down to fucking Keir Starmer, funny enough. If you remember at the last election, all the Tories said was, get Brexit done, get Brexit done. And to be fair, a lot of people, even if they voted Remain, were Brexit wary, and they just thought, fuck it, we need to get this over and done with. Okay? Now, Labour's policy at the 2019 general election was on Brexit was this. Well, we're going to renegotiate the Brexit deal, then we're going to have a referendum and tell people to vote against the Brexit deal.
Yeah.
That was one of the stupidest fucking policies I have ever heard. And it is down to Keir Starmer and fucking Emily Thornberry and the shadow fucking cabinet kicking up a fuss, right? You know, if you look at the 2017 general election when Labour didn't win, but they did better than they expected. Labour had, the Labour policy was to honour the referendum. Yes, I know Brexit is a really stupid fucking idea, but I kind of feel that Corbyn should have put his foot down, told Keir Starmer and fucking Emily Thornberry to fuck off and go for a soft Brexit. Because I'm telling you now, right, the Labour's defeat wouldn't have been as, in fact, I would imagine there would have probably been another hung parliament. I am just saying,
a well-hung parliament,
and I am not, I'm not a Brexiteer. I'm not a Brexit fan, but I understand, there was a lot, people wanted it, that's kind of, we had to deal with it, I don't like it. I really don't. I honestly don't. Yeah. But I had to be. You have to sometimes in politics. You have to be pragmatic. Now, before I go, I have to say, I have to ask you about this because you're Irish.
I am disgustingly Irish. Yes.
Yes. All the shit in the north. You see, the thing is, we warned. This is one of the consequences of Brexit.
Yep.
Yeah. And
yeah.
Fucking Nigel. For those who don't know, there have been riots in Northern Ireland because the proddy Nazis don't like the fact that there's, a trade wall down the Irish Sea.
Yeah, basically so.
And these are people who, if you want to go to one place in the UK where the flag shagging is absolutely compulsory. It's the loyalist or not loyalist, the Protestant community.
The orange
in Northern
fuckers.
Ireland.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The Bowler Hack Brigade. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you hear last summer, right? Because they weren't allowed to march because of COVID restrictions. Did you hear they got on treadmills and did a Zoom?
Fuck me.
Fucking hell. Yeah?
We're having a Zoom march.
I'm not kidding. They fucking did this, and it's like,
these people are crazy.
You just can't. You just can't let it go, can you? In rubbing Catholics' fucking noses in it, can you?
They're a strange.
What
Strange group of people. Yeah, I'll probably talk a little bit with Sister Rose on that, as she's Irish.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah. Any last thoughts?
Well, yeah. Support if you can. Please support the disabled people against cuts because direct action is needed. Please do support trans content creators on YouTube. Yeah. We need the love.
Except Blair White.
Oh yeah, well not just her, Rosa Dawn as well. Avoid Rosa Dawn and Blair White. But please do support people like Katie Montgomery and obviously ContraPoints and Abigail Thorne. Abigail was actually on the BBC the other day.
Yeah, no, not just is she on the BBC. She's going to be a part of a BBC Three comedy thing as well. She's going to be legit on the TV.
Yeah, good for her.
Pretty dope.
Anyways, you lots take cares of yourselves and
and everyone go and subscribe to Sophia's channel. She does most days you do a stream, don't you?
Yes, I'll definitely be streaming tomorrow night. So
cool. Okay, go and support Sophia. Her channel's linked below. Awesome creator. Thank you for coming on.
It's all right. Cheers.
Take care. Well, hello there, everyone. It's just you and I for a second. Sister Rose. There she is. I'm just going to kick the link over to her, and we can talk about some stuff. Anyway, some things happened, didn't they? Noises happened. Thank you to Jeanette 1KRU and the Misplaced Top Hat for following. And thank you all. Welcome aboard. Thank you to Del059 for resubscribing with Prime. 5 months now. 5 months. We're so close. We're so close to aborting our newly born stream baby. And they say, have some Bezos books on Bezos. Well, I shall. Thank you. Yeah, I suppose while I'm waiting, I can do some shilling. You can subscribe to me on YouTube. I'm Kevin Logan on YouTube. You can follow me here on Twitch. You can subscribe to me. There's bits. There's the super chats via the Streamlabs link and Patreon for your regular monthly donations. Thank you all. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Hi there. Oh yeah, I'm on. Oh, I'm doubling up. I have to mute the audio on your stream. Sorry, I'm very scuffed today as usual.
No,
hello, hi Kevin. What is up?
I'm very well. How are you?
August Salam. I'm nervous. I haven't been on a lefty stream for a while, so you know.
Oh,
some trauma there.
Why is that? Why have you been purposely avoiding it, or?
I had a bunch of drama. I called out Mel for genocide denial before it was cool, and then she had friends that were kind of popular in the community, and there was a whole lot of fighting, and I got flushed out over that. So that wasn't fun.
Well, I can't help but feel I sort of stole your thunder then by doing it. You were the OG genocide denial accusationer.
Yeah, God, it was great. Because I came from left book, which was an absolute trash fire of there were like at least 10 groups or some variant of tankies ruin every group, because that's what happens. So I was like trying to warn people, like Lance and others, about I know you're like doing critical stuff with tankies, but it's not just enough to be. You have to like keep your community safe against them, because they will come for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, you really do have to watch out for them. Their entryism is as toxic in many respects as any Nazis. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say tankies are as bad morally as Nazis, but in terms of their ability to damage leftist communities, can be pretty parallels.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm not suggesting that there is as bad morally at all, because I think there is some justification in some aspects of their beliefs and stuff. But I mean, in terms of their entryism and their propensity to fuck up any decent progressive space.
Yeah, so I have a long experience with that. So obviously I was super sensitive to seeing, it wasn't just that as well. There was a couple of others as well. There was another one, Kay Swiftly, I think, who was like really getting invited to a lot of places, but had like an incredibly tanky mod and was getting tankified herself. And I think calling that into, it was absolutely, oh wow, I can't even remember. It's kind of wild as well, because Kay Swiftly, because she was talking like a lot about like Black and African American issues, but there's one mod guy called Silver. He's just like this random white boy Call of Duty player, as far as I know, who also happens to be really tanky and is like a mod of, I don't know, but yeah, it just shows that the corrupting influence that people can have. And I think with tankies as well, like traditionally tankies, and not just talking about Marxist-Leninists in general, although the lines get very blurry, they tended to be like more like white college age kind of dudes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But and obviously like people like Caleb Poppin at that. Burger King. But they basically recruited very heavily in like trans, LGBT, minority, Black, other communities.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though there's a lot of one of the things about tanky, aside, Well, it's there's kind of famous for having a lot of anti-Semitism, but also the one that people don't always clock into, and this is a wider problem on the left in general, especially in the more edgy atheist elements, is Islamophobia, and that is sort of what got me into a lot of shit in left book. Well, first of all, there's the whole status thing. And what a lot of people don't realize is that the status thing is actually based a lot on Islamophobia. And people go, whoa, but isn't Assad like, isn't he a Muslim too? And like, yeah, but he's like, I said Alawite, yeah. And they sort of romanticize him as being like this secular daddy who's always not really like a Muslim like those Wahhabists. And they use a lot of war and terror like language. It's like the whole meme of how China literally calls it the People's War on Terror. It's like there's always memes about, oh, we'll just call this the People's thing and the tankers will buy it. And they did actually buy it. Like they do buy the People's War on Terror in China. And it's like that with Syria as well, because they buy a lot of the lines of basically all the Sunnis being Wahhabists and all this. But the sort of minority leader guy is...
Well, they support him because he's... and I can't speak to any individuals you may have spoken to, but my experience of Tanki is that they'll support Assad because he's basically what they want. He's an authoritarian who does kind of nationalism and stands up to America, and that's about it. That's all they really need.
Also, wild things about Assad while I'm here and can rant about it. His sort of dynasty, like his dad, and it was kind of half put in place by the West in the first place. Like they were severely propped up by Western powers, and Bashar al-Assad himself allows the CIA to operate on certain soil, which is like the most anti-imperialist thing you can possibly do, and jails communists. Again, top tier anti-imperialism. So that's what got me the negative ire of the left book tankies, and then it got really out of control.
Oh, good. Fuck them. Bunch of cunts. Anyway, Dylan Burns in the chat. I can't get rid of him. Swarming around me like a fly around shit. Ico Rules also as well is in there. But if you want to spam me links, guys, go and subscribe to those people. And I've managed to get your links in there now in the chat. So not in the chat, sorry, in the description. So go and follow Sister Rose as well, and harass her into going on more left streams.
Yeah, I'm still pretty bummed by what happened, especially with the serfs and that. That was really sad. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I am going to be making more videos.
What happened? What happened with the serf?
Oh, the serfs kind of took Riley Grace's Rochong's side in the Mel drama. When I said that Mel was pulling ranks, she was good friends with apparently Riley Grace Rochong. So Riley came in. I see people like Riley is known to be a bit of a shitter now as well. I'm like a litmus test for these people. But yeah, she came into my inbox demanding, by DMs, demanding that I defend a comment I made about Mel being a genocide denier or tweeting genocide deniers. And I was like, hey, I'm having a bit of a panic attack because of this whole Mel situation, and I don't know if I can deliver all this, and demanded I do it immediately or she'd ban me. And
was this when she was having her sort of weird, not meltdown as such, but she was having a bit of a weird one at some point?
This was before the recent one where she alienated half her community. And of course, even those people that she alienated, a lot of them didn't apologize to me or anything after getting behind. But basically, like I'm autistic. I'm borderline. I have a sort of threshold where I will lose my shit. And unfortunately, that made it very easy for Lance to characterize me as being a drama magnet. And I'll list some of the things that I got me called a drama magnet. One of them was Destiny basically more or less calling me the Ursula on stream and getting DGG to brigade me. Me talking about made me like a drama.
Can I just translate for people who aren't Irish? That's the R slur.
Yeah.
Not the or slur. My dad says that as well because he's an Irishman.
Yeah. He said Destiny said I didn't have a normal functioning brain.
Which is ironic considering some of his takes, I have to say.
I know. And oh my God, some of the receipts I have of Destiny as well. Like he assumed I was black because of the sister thing. So I somehow got like misplaced anti-blackness, which was hilarious. He said, oh, do you want to come on my stream, sister? And he tried to like SISTUH. He kept trying to lure me onto his stream so he could dunk at me. And then he actually boasted, right, that he earns as much as 18 black communities. And the fact that that wasn't
Oh.
like there and then the fucking end of Destiny was absolutely fucking wild. And
That
the other
certainly
thing that
puts
Lance called,
his N-word thing in perspective, I would imagine.
yeah, oh god, yeah, like it's I like I was a bit harsher. I wasn't one of the people that disowned Lance for being a little bit soft on Destiny, but I was critical of him being soft on Destiny, and I think that caused like a lot of the growing problems between me and the Surfs then. And the other thing that got me called a little bit dramatic was one of my friends was targeted by Andy No's Atom Waffen kill lists. You know, when he does that thing where he posts, yeah. I have a friend who's a very raw protester, trans Muslim protester, and she got targeted by him, and I like was posting about that. And that
pronouns, by
Yeah.
the way, Sarah.
oh, my pronouns. My
Yeah.
pronouns are she, her. I'm a trans lady. Queer
Yeah.
trans lady, mostly binary, a little bit wobbly on top. That is me. Density.
Yeah, no, just because people were asking. Because I didn't even really properly introduce you. You can explain who you are.
Oh
if
yeah,
you
sorry.
wish.
Hi, I'm Sister Rose. I used to do a lot of stuff for the back end of the Surfs. Like I did the Camp Unicorn fundraiser. I ran the back end, and I had to prep people like Chelsea Manning, which is wild. And I had to.
And me, of course, the big
Yeah.
guest, the big guest.
Yeah, that's why I have you followed on this. Even though I've been very quiet on left streams for the last while. And I before that I had a YouTube channel. I still have some videos on that are pretty well where like I talk about autism, trans stuff, other stuff. And now after I got chased out of left Twitch, I became a VTuber. So yay. So my VTuber stuff is mainly reading scary stories and stuff, but I want to integrate my slightly more lefty stuff into it. Eventually as well. I always wanted to have an avatar like I do use a PNG for most of my videos. So yeah, so I'm like basically my friend Ali is kind of trying to get me, like she got me onto no comments tricks chat and stuff like that, and so yeah, I'm testing the waters in terms of getting back into leftist stuff, but I'm also very wary of burnout, and I'm still very hurt over the Surfs and Riley Rochong stuff. So
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, Camasots
yeah,
is also.
Camasots, I have indeed done some stuff. Hi Ali, what's up? Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to spam your link in the chat, everyone go and follow Camasots as well. Yeah, basically, if you do streaming, spam your links. It's fine. I assume
Yeah,
you're not
sure,
a fascist if you're here.
I am very much not a I've been targeted by fascists for a very long time. So
No, you're good. You're good people. Yeah.
oh yeah. Oh, what most people probably know me by though is the fucking Caleb Maupin YouTube poop. That is what.
Yes, you did a very fine YouTube poop of him. I think. Yeah.
I'll post a link to that, and yeah.
Yeah.
And you can follow the rest of my YouTube channel from there. It's just youtube.com/sisterrose. And I also stream on my regular. I'm doing a stream in hour and a half about Ramadan, being trans and Muslim and all that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to be doing later on.
So
this is a short little stream.
Yeah, this is. I'll give you a little taste of the weirdness.
Warm up.
Yeah.
Burger King.
Yeah. So yeah. Oh yeah. Well, finishing my story
Burger
about
King.
Riley Rochong. Yeah. So, will I finish my story with Riley and all that?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So what happened after that was Riley made a post about me. I made like about 4 or 5 comments on Twitter, kind of talking about it, like not even in the big aggressive call out way that sometimes I do. And that got Riley convinced I was trying to end her career. So she put up a whole thread, and that got me brigaded. And she said, "Oh no, I don't want people brigading you." And then after saying that, basically pulled Mel on stream to give her side of it. I was blocked from the chat, so I couldn't even comment. And then Riley, Mel, and her chat, and Mel denies this, but I remember it happening. I don't have receipts because Riley didn't release the VOD. She threatened to release the VOD, like some mafia boss, if I continue to criticize her. But basically, they speculated about my mental illness and how it was affecting my behavior. And Mel was like, "Oh, I feel so sorry for her," when she's the one who triggered it in the first place. But yeah, and I got pretty triggered. I ended up I did do some stupid stuff. Like I did pick a fight with Riley a couple of places I probably shouldn't have, but overall I wasn't morally in the wrong, and I got shat on a lot because of it. And Lance did his typical don't want to get involved in drama except when I want to thing, and I got disowned by the Surfs then. That was really shitty, and yeah. So I dropped out, left Twitch from then, and was like, fuck it. I did a lot. I had only just finished reformatting the Surf's Discord, which was a mess at the time. I was basically tasked with rejigging everything, and yeah, so it does suck. And I do notice there's a lot that trans femmes, especially in the community, and I guess women, minorities, and yeah, we often do a lot of the back end work that people don't fully appreciate, and we get kind of taken advantage of like that. Yeah, so that really sucks, and it wouldn't have been taken advantage of if I wasn't dropped and treated like a drama. I was really felt looked down on a lot, like the way I was treated as a drama thing. And this has been a thing going on for a very long time with me, because I do actually get in a lot of drama, but it is often for good reasons. So
yeah. So
yeah, I didn't expect that, Lance, either. I know he was a bit wobbly on things, but it was like I was really disappointed, because like I thought that like I was good friends with people involved in that corner of the leftist internet, and especially after having left book, it was nice to have a community again. So yeah, I was really upset over that, and he's like bigger than he used to be now, I think now, and probably doesn't feel the need to reach out and apologize or anything. But yeah, so yeah, but since everyone knows everyone, that's why I'm paranoid, you see.
Oh, well, there's no need to be, I don't think, paranoid. It's a shame you've fallen out with RGR and the Surfs and stuff, because
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
You go on, sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, sorry. I'm talking too much. I know.
No. Look, you're the guest. I bring people on because I want them to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but no, it's a shame, because I'm on good terms with both of them, and they've always been perfectly nice to me. But yeah. I mean, it's a shame that it's gone that way with you. So, but what are you planning to stream about tonight?
I'm just having a short. I'm just talking about. Well, it's the first of Ramadan today. I'm a trans Muslim convert, and I do have a difficult relationship with my faith, especially because there was a recent falling out in my mosque. It just seems to happen all around me. I hate this. But yeah, so I'm kind of talking about that and the difficulties with disability and doing Ramadan a little bit as well. And just talking about, I guess, my identity and navigating it being kind of complicated. It's not going to be a long stream. It's going to be like YouTube video size probably, so maybe half an hour, so we'll see. Depends on how many people turn up. But yeah, so I'm going to be talking about that, just like an identity exploration and what kind, maybe clearing up some misconceptions about Muslims and LGBT stuff, and talking a little bit about Ramadan. But I'm pretty limited. Like, I'm kind of a new Muslim in some ways, so I can be pretty, like, I put a lot of things on pause for a couple of years because things were hard. So
have you been fasting then?
No, I haven't, unfortunately, because I have medical issues. That's one of the things I'm going to talk about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's what I want to talk about. But I also think there's a lot of pressure to do Ramadan in general, which can be very difficult because it becomes this like very performative thing in the community. But yeah, it's the whole thing. And like I'm worried speaking too much on Muslim issues because I'm not like a very good Muslim, and I'm kind of an outsider as well. Like, I'm a white convert, and a bit more complicated since I am Irish, so I'm kind of coming from one colonized background to another. But yeah.
Yeah. No, you really want to.
Oh shit! Yeah, I was going to talk about being Irish. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know a ton about what's happening up north right now, but yeah, pretty much I absolutely called it happening when Brexit like obviously was going to be an absolute mess, that there was going to be more problems up there.
Yeah, well, it's intractable, yeah. You have to have some actually, you have to have a border once you're outside of a common trading bloc.
Yeah. There was no solution for it. Yeah, actually, Ali can probably talk a bit more about being an actual Muslim than I think. She comes from a proper Muslim background. But yeah, it's like actually, it's kind of funny. Near where my parents live, like up the road, there was an old like IRA barracks or something, which is really great because like this is way down the south now, not the north. But yeah, it's a funny historical. I might post a picture on Twitter later. But yeah, the sort of one of the best people I think that did a lot of like he pulled in people for interviews and things like that. Do you know who Blind by Boat Club is?
No.
But Blind by Boat Club, he was with a musical act called the Rubber Bandits,
right.
Who you may have heard of, and so sorry, I was just reading chat briefly. So yeah, he does a lot of very good things about Irish history. Like he was covering things like the Irish becoming white and things like that. And yeah, one of the things he did cover was like a situation in the north, and he was with a guy. He did one really good one in Belfast where he's with a guy that does like tours all across the various areas that are sort of conflict points and all that. And like one of the things about Belfast as well that a lot of people don't realize is that you have like an Israeli style wall there, which is absolutely wild.
Which they call it the peace wall as well.
Yeah,
which is really weird because it's a fucking wall. What do you mean?
I know, it's like peace and freedom. The way these things, it's like when Noam Chomsky says that like these words are purposely made to sound like the opposite.
Yeah, it's quite Orwellian in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it is like the Orwellian kind of thing.
The division of unity. Yeah, come on.
Yeah, the actual Orwellian stuff, not the conservatives posting 1984 on Twitter.
True, definitely. Yeah. So, any more thoughts? Anything you wanted to get off your chest, or anyone else you wanted to call out?
I have a lot of. I could be here all night. Listen, I could talk about the VTuber community very briefly. I found it more chill than leftist Twitter. It has its own problems, obviously. I was expecting it to be kind of fashy because like weeaboos. Surprising it's not as much, and the fact that it's kind of a matriarchy and it's like run by a lot of queer women is interesting. And even the English speaking ones, there just tend to be a lot of like people of East Asian origin and stuff like that, a lot of Filipinos, and so that's kind of interesting. And there are, I'd say, it is overall left leaning, and I prefer people being like that rather than people like Riley who are a bit I don't know, who are kind of liberalish in some ways, but end up being more. These people aren't trying to put themselves out too much as being hot shit political commentators, but still have okayish politics. Yeah. But we do have problems. Like the whole lolly thing is one. I don't even know if I can get into that too much. That's one problem. And there was a thing recently where the VTuber wiki, basically one of the mods doesn't like non-binary people, so scrubbed the non-binary category. People really came out against that though, which is really good. So that was nice. So yeah, there are issues I have in the community with like getting certain things taken seriously and all that, but it's interesting. It's a good, like, it's a lot of queer people, a lot of trans people on the sort of lower rungs of it. So that's a fun thing.
Well, I'm glad you found a new place where you feel comfortable at least.
Yeah, I'm still building community. See, I'm autistic. I'm borderline, like I said earlier. I have really shit social skills. I have a tendency to end up fighting with people or feeling alienated or running away. So it's really difficult for me in any new community. So yeah, it's very hard for me to build a new. And this is the thing, like I had to build a new after the falling out with Left Twitch. So that was really difficult for me. And people don't think about this thing, and the way people weaponize boundaries online, often against minorities and disabled people, is something that's difficult to talk about. But yeah,
that's fair enough. Yeah, well, I mean, thank you for coming on.
Oh, do I get to talk about TERF Island before I go?
Oh, you can talk about whatever you like. Yeah.
I'm so bloody like I live in Ireland, and our healthcare system, like they're trying to import the British discourse over here. Now, our healthcare in Ireland for trans people is as bad as some Republicans are trying to make it in the US. Like it's the access to things, and we don't have proper like you can't give puberty blockers to under 18s and stuff like that, really. And
can you not?
Oh, kitty.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, it's just I didn't want to interrupt, so I just put him on screen.
Oh, I'd bring my lizard on, but I'm not on camera, so I have a pet. I have a cat she lives with my parents. She's called Luna, but I also have a gecko called Shams Pega. Shams and Pega both mean like sun or sunset because he just looks a bit like a banana, but also a sun. But yeah, there's no point in puberty blockers. Actually, I wouldn't say that necessarily. Like basically going regular blockers will stop a lot of things, and it's the earlier you get on them, the better it is in terms of if you want to pass or whatever. Obviously, there's a lot of discourse on trans people or passing, but like most trans girls are going to feel less dysphoric the earlier they start. But yeah, the situation in Ireland is not great. We needed more. We were meant to get I think we got a second. And we've one endocrine unit in the whole country for trans people, and they also deal with diabetic people. They opened one in Galway for a while, but I'm not sure what happened to that. And it's just an absolute mess because this is something that could be done in any endocrine unit, and it's just not, because they had this one very gatekeeper-y type Don Lachey in charge of for a while. I'm going to get in trouble for speaking against this now, but yeah, I think he's left, but we're still left with this horrible gatekeeping system. And I'm absolutely terrified of importing the British. Like I was saying in the chat as well earlier, like if I lived in the UK, there's a very good chance I'd be dead because I would say be one of those found fit to work. But I do not feel like I'm fit to work. So, for a numerous reasons. I have terrible ADHD, autism, chronic pain. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the neoliberal heartlessness to its core, isn't it? That it doesn't matter what's actually true, that you're going to be forced to go out and work, you know?
Yeah, and this is one of the things I talk about in my video. The autistic basket weavers of Temple Grandin, which is very much about the mentality of Temple Grandin represents, where she tells autistic people to just go out and get a job, do something productive. And it's very like when they used to get like mentally ill people weaving baskets just to get them to do something productive. So this push to make autistic people and disabled people in general productive under this neoliberal atmosphere, and that causes so much harm. And it's, yeah, and like I was saying in the chat as well, I don't think new fascism is ever going to have that sort of, oh, disabled people are genetically inferior, let's wipe them out. I think they're just going to have the sort of quiet genocide that the Tories have been doing.
Yeah.
That seems to be the way I really hope, like I said as well, if that news cycle kept up, because unlike with trans people, there is a degree of like social pressure to give a shit about disabled people, even if people normally don't. But when you shove it in their face, it's a lot harder. So if they kept that news cycle up in the UK of disabled people and very obviously disabled people protesting, I would say that could do the Tories in eventually. So that is going to be buried like within a week easily, because you can't have that imagery constantly making people uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not just uncomfortable, but the press are so compliant with the government. It's embarrassing.
Oh yeah, the whole situation you get like, as much as I rag on tankies and all that, the media situation in the UK is probably as bad as like China in some ways. It's so controlled and so incredibly, and it's controlled in more subtle, insidious ways. It's even worse in the US in some ways. And like, I should qualify that like half my family do live in the UK, and I spent a lot of time there when I was younger, so I'm a bit more qualified. I actually know more about the UK than Northern Ireland specifically, weirdly enough. My background is actually, I'm half Irish, and the other half is made up of, I'm half Irish, quarter Scottish, and then 1/8 Northern Irelandish, and 1/8 English, proper British, I think. So that's my makeup. So yeah, I do know a bit about the situation in the UK. We're like constantly exposed to the UK media here anyway, so
yeah, exactly.
Fucking like, nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, every Irish person knows someone in Britain. They just do. It's
yeah. Well, so many of us emigrated as well. Like my dad was over in the like.
Well, my
Irish era. Yeah.
Yeah, my father's from Kilkenny originally. So yeah, everyone knows some fucker. It's fine. It's the way it is. We really shouldn't be forcing our shit on them, and we should definitely get the fuck out of the north of the country, because that's not our land.
Yeah, it's going to be wild if like you do get Scottish independence and reunified Ireland because of how badly they fucked up Brexit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that's ironically we wanted to bring power back to Westminster, and it looks like Westminster's going to be the only bit left.
Yeah, and can I say as well that the whole TERF thing is very much an extension of the colonial mentality as well. It's basically the women's wing of the boys' club. Yeah. And I read a really good article like explaining that like a lot of sort of early gender critical types, Radfem types, were actually from the women's ring of like the sort of skeptic movement, the skeptic movement I'm talking about, the one that ended up being quite reactionary.
Yes,
and
indeed.
Sort of Richard Dawkins types and all that. Yeah. So yeah, that's where a lot of that came from. So it is like basically you had the British going around to all these countries saying, oh, this is how you do gender, you dress this way, you do this and all that. And now like 100 years later, you have them coming back and saying, oh, this is how you do gender. And it's the same, and they don't realize that they exported this model of gender in the first place, and then they're doing all this deconstruction based on the model that they exported, and now they're exporting the new model again. It's so wild.
Well, I've been meaning to get into researching it a little bit so I can talk about it on stream, but the intersection of gender and colonialism in India, because there's a third gender. I haven't looked into it.
Or the Kustra. Yeah, you'd be amazed. Like most cultures to some degree have some kind of third gender, and actually. I think it was that guy Gerald of Wales, when he wrote this like weirdly Orientalist guide to Ireland in like the 13th, 14th century. It did include a record of a bearded Viking queen in Limerick City. So that's kind of interesting. So I'd say there's like it's less prominent in Western Europe, but I'd say if you could still find if you looked hard enough, and the Nazis hadn't burned a lot of this research, you could find a lot of third gender evidence. And then when you get to the global south, a lot of Southeast Asia, places like that, you get a lot of like the Waria. In like I've been sitting on a TERF video for years. I even filmed myself running away from the Father Ted house. I need to put that fucking thing out there, but again, like I wanted this to be my big video, so I was trying to build up my brand, and then I crashed. So, but yeah, it's like you got the Warrior in Southeast Asia, Indonesia, I think, and the Costa Kajra, the Hijra in the India, and then God, where else have you? The Musha in Mexico, Zapotec region, I think.
Well,
you've got so many.
You've got like Two-Spirit in
Two-Spirit, various North American tribes. There's some concepts like that. The 6 classical genders in Judaism, and then if we're talking about Islam, you've the Mukannath, sort of classical Arab, which is the Kanath in Yemen still exists to this day, I think.
Yeah.
To some degree. So yeah, you've all these roles that are wiped out by British and French imperialism.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's absolutely fucking mad shit. Yeah. And like you say, now they've got this new version of it. Yeah.
And if you and I'll tell you one thing: if you press 90% of these fucking, I'd say very least 90% of these fucking gender crits, nearly every one of them will be Islamophobic and ableist as well, but Islamophobic as fuck.
Well, yeah, bigotry begets bigotry, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you're a sexist, you're probably a racist. You're probably a transphobe. You know.
But yeah, and it is tying into that same sort of fucking the mentality, the colonial mentality, and that weird mix of that and neoliberalism. And of course, was it Parker Posey or Posey? I can't remember which is the actress and which is the biggest.
Posey Parker.
Yeah, like she was complaining about the BLM protests and that. Of course, she's using the pretext that they like are gender inclusive and stuff. But yeah, it's like, and she's worth talks with like far right people and all sorts. And it's amazing the stuff that they get away with. And there's so many proven links, and they'll still talk like it's trans people out there reactionary somehow. It's just this amount of gaslighting and manipulation from the inverted commas gender crits is absolutely wild.
Yeah, I mean they are absolutely fucking disgusting, frankly. In a number of ways. Yes. So where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter @PrincessOTC, and you can find me on YouTube, which is just Sister Rose, and Twitch, which is also Sister Rose. All one word for both. I'll post the links in the chat. Sister Rose.
Cool. And thanks for coming on. And
you're very welcome.
We'll chat.
Thanks for being the first person to risk having me on. I'm such a toxic, cancelled leftist. So yeah,
that's fine. I mean, I talk to anyone. I talk to Mel, and no one likes her.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Yeah, but you had some pretty funny clapback to. I just don't like when people are very soft on people. You had some pretty funny clapback to her. So I did. It was this weird thing of being both traumatized because she was pretty abusive to me, but also like really like, yeah, this is hilarious.
Well, I'm glad I could raise a chuckle if nothing else. Then.
Yeah, I think you kind of got me a little bit back into watching less streamers again. So thanks.
Oh well, good.
I've only so much time I've only so much time to put into it, but yeah, it's. Awesome. So thank you for being a mad bastard, as we would say.
Well, absolutely, yeah. Thank you very much. Everyone go and follow Sister Rose, and we'll speak to her another time.
Yeah. I'll go catch up with chat now. Thanks so much for having me on. Oh, by the way, I've been talking my VTube out there to Kevin the whole time, and you guys didn't even see it. Ha!
Yeah, exactly.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye. Yeah, I couldn't show you the VTube thing because it's on the Twitch chat. Which, if you do a screen grab, a window grab of it, it just comes up as blank, which I think is like a security thing that Twitch put on there or something. I don't know. Anyway, so I couldn't really show you that. But it was very cute. It's like a goth doll or something. Anyway, you go and subscribe to Sister Rose there. She's pretty dope. Anyway, yes, we got bits and pieces. Actually, wow, before we... Sophia, thank you very much. Gave $1, donated $1 and said, you might want to ask your guest about the homophobic shit Leo Varadkar has been getting, but they're gone now. I'm sure they're not. I'm sure they're not happy about it. For what it's worth. What was the Burger King video? Oh, good point. Actually, I'll put a link to that in the chat. Where are we? There we go. Yeah, that's a cool mashup of the Burger King bit. And I'll put it in the YouTube chat as well. Yeah. There was one thing I wanted to show you before we went. As I was chatting to Sister Rose there, I had another tanky fall come into my... Chatting to Sister Rose. Shut up, Logan. Shut up, dickhead. Anyway, this person called... I don't know, I've never heard of them before. Chibariki 13? I don't know if that's because they're actually 13 years of age or not. I don't know. Where are we? There we go. Right. This was just a bit funny. They're very good on the old caps lock, these people. You should have been aborted, you cock virus. You're the scummiest thing on the planet. On the planet? Okay. Your mum is reactionary. Firstly, it's YOU''RE. What's wrong? Why are you having to go with my mum for? That's not necessary. That's one of the weirdest yo mama snaps I've ever heard. Your mama's so reactionary. Stop stealing my oxygen, you cuck bitch waste man. It's a comma, you cuck bitch waste man. You're a shitlib cuck, naturally. Shut up, loser waste man. And then for some reason changes up the format by going with lowercase. Kill yourself, you brain dead cancer. Well, if I'm brain dead, why would I need to kill myself? Boom. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. Enough. Fun times. I do enjoy having a go at a tankoid or two. Exactly the whole planet. That's quite an achievement, to be the scummiest thing on the planet. Absolutely delightful activity. Anyway. Yeah, I think that is the same Duce gang dude. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, yes, thank you to Kamazot's Altar. By the way, go and follow Kamazot's. Pretty dope. For following, and Sundry Clowncar 295 for following. Welcome aboard, albeit you're welcome aboard to a ship that's about to park for the evening, because I'm going to get some fucking food. Anyway, thank you all for listening and watching. Who have we got on the Twitches? I'll kick you over to someone on the Twitches. Thank you to Spark the Blade for following. Who have we got on the Twitches? Hassan's going, but he's got nearly 30,000 people watching him. He doesn't need me. He don't need me at all. Tina, what's she up to?
Just spread it out.
Oh, she's watching cooking videos. That's rubbish. What's the Possum Queen?
The marker style ones? Nice.
Okay,
I use fucking... What do I use?
I'll kick you over to the Possum Queen. As we've been talking about trans issues and shit. Raid Journal. The Possum Queen. There we go. I'll kick you over to them, and they can take you through to the wee hours of the morning. What the fuck am I talking about? Anyway, yes. Thank you all for listening and watching. My links are all below. You know what to do. There's subscribe and follow. We're gonna things. Oh, good lord. The thing happened. Tiny monkey army. Hold me back. Thank you to Ilium Gal with 245 bits. Says thanks for supporting trans peeps. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. Wherever there's some group of people who are being done wrong to, I'm with them. And trans people are being treated in a way that I think future generations will look back on in the same way that we now look back on the Jim Crow era or something like that. Their human rights are being trampled on, and it's a fucking disgrace. Anyway, thank you for the bits. Lovely stuff. And I will see you all tomorrow. I might have a guest on tomorrow or possibly Thursday, which would be cool. But either way, I'll be back tomorrow at some point. Watch out on the social media links for more information on that kind of thing. Thank you all for listening and watching. No pass around.